me a chance to get sorted, but straight in there. Um, Hi there, and welcome to the Good Enough Battle Companies podcast. My name is Chris Piercy from Good Enough Scenery, joined by this chap here, Stephen from When I Can Hobby. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I say fantastic. I always say I'm doing fantastic, but I am. Today I'm doing pretty okay. The weather's getting a bit better. It's getting a bit warmer. So things are looking up.
I've prepared by I have 2 glasses of water nearby because I need at least one per impression. I've discovered,
Yeah.
um, especially my Golem one, which just destroys me. But yeah. Um, So, on today's podcast, we are going to be talking about the couple of games that we just played on Thursday night, which were both pretty interesting. We're going to be talking about the Claim the Treasure scenario from the community rulebook, and the 2 companies we are going to be talking about today are Rohan and Isengard, both of which we have a good amount of experience playing with slash against. So there should be at least a couple of things to say. So
Indeed.
yeah.
I think it should.
So what? Carry on.
No. I'm just saying it should be an interesting one. We actually have viewpoints on these companies.
So what was your take on the games that we had on Thursday?
Well, apart from the fact that I died a lot, but it was a 50-50. I won and you won. Although you did a lot of killing and I didn't do much killing at all. It was it's interesting. One thing I find interesting about battle companies is how even when you could be losing, there's still a way of winning. If you get what I'm saying, which I find very interesting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So the first scenario we played, Plunder the Camp. I absolutely butchered you, but to the point where I killed you too quickly without focusing on the objective, and then it's one of those scenarios where the game ends on a 1 or a 2 once one force is broken, and then I looked up and went, "Oh shit, I've nearly broken you," and then I was like, "Going quick, everyone shield!"
yeah. And
Oh,
then,
he hasn't got a shield. Oh no, he's
yes,
won. Oh, go kill someone.
that was it. There was literally that turn. I was just
Don't
like,
kill him.
I was like, one more and I'm broken. You're like, oh crap. And then that was it. You went into shielding, and then it was it was funny. But yeah, I won without meaning to.
I'm sure it was your intention, just probably not. I mean, not quite how you would want it. I mean, I've had games like that, particularly if you're playing elves or something like that, and but it teaches you to play the objective.
Yes.
And the objective was getting into the center and setting things on fire. The objective wasn't to completely kill you, but you made some interesting move. Maybe you subconsciously really knew this, and the couple of slightly interesting moves that you made were designed to kind of lure me in to kill you lots. But look, you won, so it worked.
I think the move Chris is talking about is the camp was on top of a hill, and I had a couple of my archers. I lined them up on the edge of the hill to jump down to try and attack a couple of his archers. He killed all my archers before they got anywhere near him. I think it was 3 people I just sacrificed at that point, stupidly. But yeah.
Although, look, I'm sure we'll cover it in a future episode in more depth. But as part of it, you can't shoot if people are more than 6 inches away. But you get +1 to wound because the arrows are harder to dodge or something. That's what they kind of say. And then you kind of charged your guys full movement, so they couldn't shoot into a position where I could shoot you with. I've got 3 guys, one that can take 2 shots every turn. So I had 4 shots at +1 to wound, and I hit on 3s because I didn't have to move to get any closer. I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna,
just gonna kill you off here. So, but yeah, so that was that, and then the next one was hold the line, and that one, that was it hold the line? Was it?
Yeah. So that's hold the line. That's where you have to get, so literally just getting 1/3 of your company from one side to the other.
That was it.
And I think that was the absolute definition of putting all of your eggs in one basket.
100%.
And I was like, I like this basket. It looks like I can kill it.
Yeah. And you did. You succeeded with completely tabling me. I had nothing left on the board, and I think I got 2 kills for my entire company. At that time was 13 men.
Yeah. It was the first game in which I had my 2 cavalry models. I'll be honest with you though, the Fiefdoms company. I don't know if it's through luck or skill or whatever, but they are becoming increasingly gnarly.
They are.
You know, just so I would not want to play against them.
I would. I think that will be interesting. Some other missions. Let's when we get into them, will be quite interesting. Kill the messenger. Those kind of ones might be quite tasty. Would they? I don't know. They might be. They might quite good.
Well, yeah. Well, I guess what we're going to do in a minute, as you're playing as Isengard, is when we get into the Isengard thing, we'll talk about what are their strengths and what scenarios are going to suit them.
They're very good at dying.
They're very good at dying so far. So let's move on to today's scenario that we're talking about, which is Claim the Treasure. Now, Claim the Treasure. Do you want to describe it, or shall I describe it? We haven't really said.
I can just read through it. So, the battlefield has seen skirmishes before and still has a few trinkets or items of value dotted around. Both battle companies are trying to secure as much wealth as they can. So the objectives is whichever battle company hold the most objectives will be the winner. So there's 6 objectives scattered around the board. And the game lasts until the end of a turn in which one battle company has been reduced to 25% of its starting models. So, yeah.
Yeah, so the objectives are light objects which you can pick up and move around, and then because they're light objects, you can carry up to 5 of them per model. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you run and grab them, and then, unlike holding an objective where you have to stay in one place, you're holding onto this item of value, which you can then carry off with you. So Rohan and this objective are very good friends. This scenario are very good friends. Get into that later on.
Yeah, I believe I played Rohan with you on this, and I did very well on it. So
yeah, I think that you did. So yeah, it's a really fun one because you're not just staying in one place, you're picking up these objects, mm-hmm. and then you are running around the board like a mad thing, just trying to keep away. So it's particularly good for Rohan because they've got the expert rider rule on so many of their things, which means that their cavalry can run. I remember losing to Dave with his Rohan on this because he was able to just charge his cavalry across and then 10-inch movement and just pick stuff up and just run off again. And I was just like, well, I think I was playing with Harad, which has got cavalry, but if I was to pick that up, I'd have to get off my horse. Mm-hmm. Whereas they are expert riders, so they can swoop down and pick up the thing from the ground. So yeah, it's the sort of thing where, and you can pass the objects between people as well, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember now, we had this game for the Farharad Rohan, and it was that one where it came down to a courage test as to whether I could, all came down to a courage test when I was broken at the end. Mm-hmm. Whereas if I failed the courage test, then I was going to drop all of the items that I had and flee. And if I passed the courage test, then I could have run off into the little house that was nearby. So yeah, I remember that. That was a fun game. Yeah. So what do you like about it?
So this one is a moving game. There's two parts of it that I like. Firstly is it's light objective, so it's not a heavy objective. You don't need 2 people to catch it. If you are a cavalry army, you can get out there quickly, gather these objectives. The next nice bit about the game is there has to be an amount of killing done. So it's not just a case of running, grabbing the stuff. I've got 6. nah, off I go. Like, I can run to safety. You have to reduce the added battle company to 25% of its starting models. So, it's something that, you still have to combat your way around. So even if you got all the bits and pieces, one battle company is going to be chasing this one individual. The other battle company is going to be trying to kill that battle company. And it makes the game last. It's not, it's never dead in the water. Even if you are against cavalry, you just have to figure out how to play clever or box clever with it, and it's an interesting game, it has, oh, burping, sorry. It definitely, it's it's put it this way.
She expecting to see your dinner for a second then.
Yeah, no, it's one that I find it's got enough about it that can keep you entertained in many different ways, and plus also, honesty shots with bows can change the game. One character one character carrying three objects, and you get a shot on them with a bow, and you topple them or you knock them off the horse even, because if they're cavalry and they're running around, like, whoa, it suddenly flips the game. The dynamic changes again, and it keeps moving. It can be quite a fluid, interesting, dynamic, changing game. So yes, I really enjoyed this one. I do.
Yeah, so I remember I had I think it was playing against Ben, when I think it was my Dol Guldur company and his Eastlings, if memory serves correct, and we had this. I think I hoovered up a bunch of the things early on, and then there was a building that had a couple of different levels to it and ladders up to it, and I was just like, right, well, I'm going to run there, and then I'm just going to defend the tops of these ladders, because you can only come up one at a time, but there was a couple of different ways, a couple of different ladders up, so I was having to defend these things, but I think it was ultimately a honesty shot from a bow that killed someone at the top of the ladder. That meant he wasn't carrying anything, but that meant that the next turn someone could climb up the ladder if he won priority, which he did. But it was one of those games that just like sticks in the memory a little bit, as a really fun one. So yeah, it's a solid scenario, and I'm gonna give it a 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah, no, I'd sit it around 7.5, very close to an 8. But yeah, no, I like it. It's a good all round game. It is, this one, so, and a good scenario.
Yeah, I mean, the only difficulty can be that if you have got companies who've got expert rider and things like that, then it's so heavily weighted towards them, and it's very heavily weighted towards cavalry, because you can pick up objects if you're infantry, run over to a cavalry model and go, there you go, you can carry that now.
Yeah.
Any companies that don't have cavalry, I think, are a big disadvantage. But not every scenario can suit every company. So, but yeah, heavily weighted towards cav.
Yeah.
Companies. Speaking of cav companies, should we move on to Rohan?
Yes. So.
All right.
Where am I? There we
My
go.
best Sean Bean.
There we go.
Right. 1 second.
You bastard.
You bastard. Though Rohan is a lush and fertile ground of rolling plains and gentle hills, it is a kingdom much used to the cruelty of war. Constant raids from neighbouring Dunlendings, and a history of battle against foes as varied as orcs and even the very acts of Khand, have forced the men of the Mark to keep a watchful eye over their domain. Across Rohan, her people gather within the palisades of fortified towns and villages, never straying far from safety. To ensure that the lands between these settlements are free of invaders, constant patrols march along Rohan's borders and guard her roadways, well armed and ready to drive back evildoers. Such a duty might be ignominious to some. I can't say that in a Sean Bean voice. But for those who wish to demonstrate their worth to the marshals of the Mark, there is no better proving ground. Thus, can Rohan's captain find a ready supply of young fighters, full of bravado and the confidence of youth, eager to prove themselves. Those who take up these duties either return as settled, experienced warriors, or they do not return at all. You bastard.
Well,
Yeah.
It's. I do like it. I do like Rohan.
I mean, there's. I think that because they feature so heavily in the films, that it's. You got Theoden. I mean, there's not really much more inspiring than Theoden's speech and the ride of the Rohirrim.
Mm-hmm.
And if that doesn't rouse something within you, then you're probably slightly dead inside.
A little bit.
A little bit. So, yeah, the whole thing with Eowyn and Éomer.
Mm-hmm.
There's some cool characters in the film, so I think that makes them, They've definitely got a draw, much more of a draw than Minas Tirith, anyway. So,
yeah. Oh god, no, and also they're not, they're not just shields and stuff. And riding horses are definitely very interesting to have. So,
throwing spears,
Burley, Lance, Geffen. These are
old friends.
Old friends.
So. What's the starting battle company then?
So the starting battle company for the Rohan is 3 warrior of Rohan with shield, 2 warrior of Rohan with throwing spear and shield, and 2 warrior of Rohan with bow.
Hasty. So the reinforcements. 1 second. My cat is just going absolutely mental. Now she's shouting. Right, just getting to the right page. Definitely well prepared here. So, reinforcements. So 3 influence points. A roll of 1 will get you nothing. 2 Rohan warrior with shield. 3 Rohan warrior with throwing spear and shield. 4 warrior of Rohan with bow. 5 is a choice of the above, and 6 is a roll on the special chart. Now, the special chart it's got 5 different things on it. So you've got a 1 will get you a Rohan Outrider, 2 Rohan Royal Guard, 3 Rider of Rohan with choice of weapon, 4 Rohan Royal Guard on horse, and 5 is a Son of Earl, and 6 is a choice of any. Mm-hmm. Now, they are... Oh, I forgot to mention the company hero upgrade, which I don't think you took enough when you played Rohan. Company hero upgrade. 4th Aerlingus. Upon their steed, the hero charges into the enemy with as much might as they can muster. While mounted, this hero gains a bonus of +1 strength on a turn in which it charges. I mean, that's just it's dirty.
It is. It's most beautiful. The thing is, it's funny. Rohan. So to give a bit of background, Rohan was my first company that I ever chose, and now playing, if I was to play again, this is something I 100% would be taking. Or would have taken a few times extra. Anyhow, the advancements and so the advancements. If they get promoted, so a warrior of Rohan with shield can become a rider of Rohan or a Rohan Royal Guard. A warrior of Rohan with bow can become a rider of Rohan or a Rohan Outrider. A Rohan Royal Guard can be a Rohan Royal Guard on horse, and a Rohan Outrider can become a Rohan Outrider on horse. So there's a lot of horses in there, and another thing to point out with the Rohan is they have a higher cavalry limit than the other battle companies. So they have a 2/3 cavalry limit rather than a 1/3 cavalry limit. So you can get those horses, as many guys on horses. And I found this out too late when I had that battle company about the horses, and I should have got more horses there,
All of the horses. What you can have? If your battle company's full, you can have 10 horses.
Yeah,
10 horses. 10. I mean, that's the sort of... That's just filthy. I mean, let's be clear, you don't have to play with a cavalry limit in battle companies at all. So you could just say, there's no cavalry limit, and then you have 15 horses. But we've always played with cavalry limits because we think it's a much more balanced thing. If because 15 guys on horses versus 15 guys not on horses, just there's doesn't really matter what your stats are at that point.
Well, I mean,
you're gonna the horses are gonna win. Let's be clear.
I mean, the thing is, the way I look at a horse, at the bare minimum of it, it's an extra wound. Depending obviously on the role, like, when you go to attack, you have the 50-50 chance it's either going to be the horse or the rider you hit. And if you hit the horse, you killed the horse, that person's still there. Your attack's been used up. It's an extra wound. Just having a horse. So and then also
for shooting attacks only.
For shooting attacks, but then also you get all the bonuses for charging in with horses, everything else. So they are definitely they're worth it.
And then the other company special rule that Rohan have got is that all heroes automatically get the expert rider special rule. So great, just what we wanted. But also, riders of Rohan which have a bow as standard do not count towards your bow limit. So you could have 2/3 of your models having bows, because you could have 5 riders of Rohan. Actually, no, you could have 10 riders of Rohan if you wanted to. I mean, you probably wouldn't. But you could have 5 riders of Rohan, all with bows, plus your 5 standard dudes with bows. So you'd have 10 guys with bows, 10 guys on horses. And everyone with throwing spears.
Yes.
Well, right. Before we get into discuss things too deeply, let's talk about the stat lines of them all. So your basic Rohan warrior comes with armor and then a choice of either sword or axe, which means that you can no one gets an axe in the company as standard, but a standard warrior, you can buy an axe for them because it is listed in their profile as standard, so you can buy them an axe, which means you can do a piercing strike, which means you can get +1 to your strength, so that there's options there already. In terms of their normal war gear options, they can pick up a shield, a spear, or throwing spears, and they've got a very ordinary stat line in that they're movement 6, fight 3, 4+, strength 3, defense 4, 1 attack, 1 wound, and a courage of 3. So nothing to write home about in that whatsoever. 4+ shooting's pretty standard for men models, but the war gear that's available is the thing that makes them a little bit more interesting.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yes. Those throwing spears. We'll get into it. Then Rider of Rohan is armor, sword or axe again, shield, bow, and a horse. And war gear options also gives them a chance to purchase themselves some throwing spears. They are expert rider as well. And whilst mounted, an expert rider may re-roll the dice when making jump, swim, and thrown rider tests. Extremely handy. While mounted, a model carrying both a shield and a bow will still receive the +1 defense bonus for being armed with a shield. If the model dismounts, they will lose this bonus. So, something to bear in mind. Additionally, an expert rider can pick up light objects without having to dismount. And it is. It's good. Again, their stat line is much the same as a Rohan warrior. 6 inches, fight 3, 4+, strength 3, defense is 5. That's because of the shield. Obviously, if they come off, they go back down to a defense 4. Attacks 1, wounds 1, and courage 3.
Yeah, and onto the Rohan Royal Guard. So this is one of the really good models and really annoying models to face, having faced them, far too many of them. So they come as with heavy armor and a sword and shield as standard. They got the expert rider special rule as standard. They've got the bodyguard special rule, which is what makes them super annoying, because that means whilst the leader is alive, the leader of your battle company is alive, they will pass any courage tests. So if your leader can be on the other side of the board, but if you're charging in to face a troll, you're not going to fail that courage test. So bodyguard is just, too much. War gear options, throwing spears is an option, and a horse is an option. The stat line much improved here, so we've got movement 6, fight 4, 4 plus, strength 3, defense is 6, 1 attack, 1 wound, and a courage of 3.
Beautiful. It's just that added defense it is, and the fight value going up to 4 is nice, like, you know. Next is Rohan Outrider, armor, sword, bow, expert rider, Vanguard, may use a friendly hero's stand fast regardless of range. War gear options is horse. The stats aren't as great. They're back down to the same as Warrior Rohan, which is movement 6, fight 3, 3 plus, strength 3, defense 4, attacks 1, wounds 1, and courage 3. So yeah.
They have got 3 plus shooting, which is the
3 plus shooting. Yeah, so
which is one of the better reasons to take them. I mean, we'll talk in a moment about the advancements and what's because what's different about Rohan compared to some other companies is that when you have these advancements, you've got a choice of which advancement you're going to take. Okay, so that moves us on to the final one, which is the son of Ael, which I always think that I'm saying wrong, but that is because it's Aelingus, it's Ael.
I've always said oh. But I mean,
I believe it Ael.
I mean, trust me, my grammar's horrendous. So just not my grammar. It's my grammar. Is it? Is it my grammar or my?
Do you mean pronunciation?
Yes, that's the one. I'm so good at
the
this.
irony of you mispronouncing is fantastic.
Yeah.
So the sons of Ael are heavy armor, axe, shield, armored horse. Them having an armored horse means that your heroes can take an armored horse, or they can take a standard horse. So an armored horse is a 1 higher defense, which means, and we'll get into that in a minute, but it's important that there's an armored horse option there. Best stat line, which is why it's the highest one in highest reinforcement. So movement is 6, fight 4 as standard, 4 plus shooting, strength 4 as standard, defense 6, 1 attack, 1 wound, and a courage of 3. So, courage of 4. I beg your pardon. Courage of 4. So, yeah, and they've got the expert rider special rule. Now, just to be clear, we've said 6-inch movement for all of these ones. That is the movement of the model that's riding the horse. Any of them that are mounted will have a 10-inch movement, just to be completely clear about that. So, yeah, those are the stat lines you're looking at. I mean, there's so much to cover with Rohan. I mean, where should we begin? Should we talk about the advancements?
Yeah. I mean, when I say advancements, I mean just straight off the back on the starting battle company, throwing spear. I think is a start point to say, just on a starting battle company, to be able to use a throwing spear going into combat, gives you that extra attack going in, so that was, I know it's a small thing. What I mean by that is a throwing spear is a 5 plus, does it you hit? No.
No, if you're charging, if you're doing it as you're charging in, then it'll be a 4 plus.
That's it.
If you're using it, and then if you haven't moved in, then you'd hit on a 4 plus outside in the shooting phase. If you'd moved, you could move full and still throw, but that would be on a 5 plus for Rohan.
That was it, yeah. So no, it's going in, so you can charge into combat on a 5 plus, potentially wound someone and continue into the combat, so it's off the back. People who don't have 2 attacks, you've got 2 guys essentially have 2 attacks. So yeah, so just off the back from the starting one, you potentially have 2 models with 2 attacks, which is better than any other company. so
well, it's not quite better than any other company, but yeah, it's having the ability to. I mean, there's if you're charging in on a 4+ with your throwing spear, there's a 50-50 chance that you cause a strength 3 hit, because throwing spears are strength 3. So the throwing spear guys are, really, really handy. And throwing spears as a weapon outside of the charging phase, but in the shooting phase, they've got an 8-inch range. So you can position yourself so you can't be charged, but you can still throw your throwing spears.
Mm-hmm.
So it does mean that you've got 2 guys with bows and 2 guys with ranged weapon or throwing spears. So 4 out of your 7 starting warriors have got ranged attacks. So that's pretty useful. Everyone. 5 guys with shields. There's just a couple of guys with bows that don't. So yeah, it's a useful starting.
But
It's a useful starting company for sure.
And that also with the 5 guys with shields, so they go from defense 4 up to defense 5 from the off as well. That's right, yeah. Yeah. So it's a stronger starting company than some. I won't say the most, because Chris will tell me off.
It's just factually incorrect, probably.
Yeah, it probably is. To be honest, I don't know them all inside out. I'm actually learning some, but yeah, as a starting company, this one's a good, strong company to start with, and a bit more forgiving for a beginner player, in that sense.
Yeah, I'd say so. And the advancements are really, really interesting, because we'll go through them one by one. So the Warrior of Rohan can become a Rider of Rohan, or they can become a Rohan Royal Guard, and it's really interesting to have those options available to you, because it's not like in previous ones where you go, that orc with a bow is now an orc tracker. That's your lot. So a Rider of Rohan, so that means automatically you get someone with a horse. It's well, that's cool. That could be really useful. Or alternatively, go, here's someone who's fight 4 and has bodyguard. It's like, well, which are you going to go for? Because both of them clearly have their merits. It's do you want to be paying influence points to be buying a horse? You're going to be spending 3 or 4 influence buying a horse, or do you just want to get given a horse for free? What's so the way in which I think you've got a better ability to shape your company, because both of those are really good options.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my brain says that having some fight 4 stuff, defense 6 stuff, is going to be marginally better than having an average dude on a horse, but
you do get
it's close. It's not like by no means is that definitely that.
Yeah. So no, you get so that, and then you go on Warrior Rohan with bow. Again, the option of being a Rider of Rohan or a Rohan Outrider. So again, a Rider of Rohan, it's they're on the bow. They've actually just for that advancement, obviously been on a horse, and they get a shield. So I don't think I took any Outriders. I don't remember you having any Outriders.
I mean, I think that a Rider of Rohan's probably marginally better than a Rohan Outrider. I mean, Rohan Outrider, you get 3+ shooting rather than 4+ shooting, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
And you get the Vanguard rule, which it means that they can go. I mean, Outriders, they go off and ride out. They don't necessarily need anyone around them, so they could be a hell of a if you get them on, you can buy them a horse, because they've got a horse in their profile, so you can make them become an Outrider and then buy them a horse. Mm-hmm. And then you've got something that's not far off a Rider of Rohan anyway, but it's got better shooting. So again, it's not a cut and dry decision, but if you've got models that can pass a courage, use a hero stand fast from the other side of the board, then those are going to be your objective holders.
Yeah, that's it. Then Rohan. then Rohan Royal Guard is Rohan Royal Guard on horse. So you could have a warrior of Rohan go up to a Rohan Royal Guard, then go from Rohan Royal Guard and onto a horse just through gameplay. This isn't costing influence points. Yep. So, and again, a Rohan Royal Guard on horse, yes, is very tasty. It is indeed. And then the last one is Rohan Outrider becomes a Rohan Outrider on horse. So,
Yeah, so the fact that you've got these double advancements, so that your standard basic bitch warrior that you start with, 2 upgrades later, which might only take a handful of games, 2 upgrades later they can be a Rohan Royal Guard on a horse.
Yeah.
I mean, that there aren't. I mean, some companies don't even have upgrades, let alone double upgrades. So yeah, there's such good potential for shaping your company in a bunch of different ways. And if you don't get the upgrade that you want, then there's the option to buy horses here or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, the fact that basically I think everyone or nearly everyone can have throwing spears is
throwing spears.
The Sons of Ael can't have throwing spears. The Outriders can't have throwing spears, but I think everybody else can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they can. So obviously, if the Outriders or Sons of Ael, if they become heroes, they can have them. But yeah, there's God, the Sons of Ael used correctly could be absolutely devastating, because you got a dude riding around on a horse with an axe. So to be, I think if you were on the charge and you go for your piercing strike with your axe, it means you're strength 5 2 attacks, and then 4 wounding rolls if you win the combat, and you fight 4. So I think if you're charging something fight 3, you're going to go for a piercing strike, because you're just going to cut straight through it.
But if you had them and they had 4th Aerlingus and their +1 strength,
yeah, get a Son of Ael and make their strength 6 on the charge. Filth. It would depend what defense you're coming up against, but if you're.
But it could hold its own against a few stronger characters there, so. And yeah, it's a.
Well, if you were. Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad that you didn't. I think you got one of them.
I got one. I got one Son of Earl. I did. I actually bought up my battle company here. And what did I call him? I can't remember what I called him. No, I called him Earl.
I was going to say, it was probably something really, really obvious, like Earl, the Son of Earl.
Yeah, I did not.
Nice.
I can tell, looking back at this battle company, this was the first one I ever built, and I'm just shamefully looking back at it, just like, wow, I missed out on so much here.
Okay, what do you feel like you did wrong then?
Firstly, I mean, look. So if we went experience of playing against with them, so playing with them, they're quite forgiving to start with. As a battle company, they're quite forgiving, and throwing the miniatures around the board, they're fairly hardy. The ones with the shields did all right. I got my head around throwing spears, but that was the only thing I really learned or figured, because I like this throwing spear, and I took my shields for granted, and I didn't get them on horses quick enough, or as quick as I possibly should have. I learned also, I tried to play a shooty game in a game that's, I tried to use some shooty, and I lost a lot going down that way when those guys have still got the swords, and I can get them a shield, I just should have turned them around. And bows are handy for honesty shots, and I wasted people hanging back when I should have been getting into combat, because my battle company went up. I mean, to be fair, my rating on my battle company here that I was looking at, it got to 427, had 15 warriors in it. Geffen, my leader, was 99 points. I got him up to that.
Jesus.
Yeah, he was 99 points. He was move 6, fight 4, 4+, strength 5, defense 6, 2 attacks, 2 wounds, 4 courage. But he didn't gain much on the might, will, or fate. He only had 2 might points, 1 will, and 1 fate. Had a throwing spear, horse lord. So he was, he was juicy. It was. And then also had lance. So I had started him. He was one of my chaps with a throwing spear and shield. He was 4+, strength 5, defense 6, 2 attacks, 2 wounds. He had 2 fate points. He did, and he went up to Burley. He had go forth Erlingus, and he had a double-handed axe as well, and a horse.
Yeah.
They were.
Yeah.
But again, what happened was I put too much time into just those individuals. I didn't kind of grow the rest of the company, because after that I had Archie, McGavin and Adrian, and then after that they all just... I had Roll Guard and I didn't get them on horse. Like, I'm looking at him here, I'm like, why did you not do this, Steve? Like, it's... So for a company that you can get bows, get as many as you can. It's handy to have them, but don't rely on them, because the strength of their bows aren't great, and plus the shooting is on their 4+ and 3+. It's 50%, 2/3. I mean, yes, that, but then the strength of a human bow. What's the strength of a human bow again?
2.
It's weak.
It is, but the throwing spears are strength 3.
Yeah, so spears are better, and use the horses, charge into combat, throw those spears in. It's that kind of thing. Like that. That's, if I was to do it different, get the horses, get the throwing spears. It's handy having the bows for the honesty shots. If you need to harass or harry, 4 or 5 bows in the right spot can be handy. But holding them back, it's a waste of men and bodies. It was. So, but yeah, that's it. If I was to do it again, it's get them on horses, get the throwing spears, and get them into combat. Because yeah, as a standard, most of them with shields are defense 5, and that's pretty damn good to start with. So,
I mean, having some defense 5 to begin with is always going to be useful, shall we say? But yeah, I mean, there was definitely some games towards the beginning of the Rohan and Farharad campaign that we did where, I was just like, dude, why are you holding those guys with bows back?
Yeah.
Because I think if you're going to have someone just sat shooting, that's absolutely fine if they're doing something like holding an objective, or blocking off a passageway or something or other, or whatever. But if they're just, remember we played the Seize the Outpost one, it was all about getting as many models inside of the outpost as possible. And you had 2 of your guys that you set them up at the top of a tower, knowing that you could shoot into the outpost from where you were.
Yeah.
And I was like, is he gonna leave them there all game? Because I'm fine if he does, because it's about getting models inside.
But that was it. Like with Seize the Outpost, and you hit the guys hid from the bows, and then I got 2 guys at the wrong end of the board. And you were you were dealing damage in there. There was a slaughterhouse in there where if I had a couple extra guys, the numbers would have matched. It could have been different, So
yeah.
And also,
and having said that, sorry, in the final game of that campaign, where we did secure the area, which I is that the one with 5 objectives, whichever one that was. Like, you took your 3 guys, you put them up on top of the Rohan watchtower, and there were 3 guys with bows there. One was hitting on 3s, the other 2 were hitting on 4s, and I was just absolutely shot off of my camels.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was destroyed me in that thing. So you clearly learned.
But again, that was getting into the combat, taking the objective. The objective was a tower. Got them to the top of the tower, and then it was just firing away. And it was an open battlefield. So everything was very close. So if we needed to, I could get off the tower and get back into combat. But yeah, no, they are. Look, they're forgiving to start with. I think bows don't rely on them. They're handy to have. They need to be used in the right spot. Spears were good as well. I never did this though. Throwing spears. Can you use them as spear support? I don't know if you can use throwing spears as spear support.
I think there's. I'm not going to answer that question because I know that, actually, bear with me for 1 second. I need to check something on another company.
Because if that.
Okay, so I think the answer to that is no, because the Defenders of Helm's Deep company has a company special rule here saying that models armed with throwing spears may use them as standard spears in addition to their normal use. However, if a model uses their spear as a throwing spear in a turn, they cannot use it as a standard spear in the same turn. So I think that unless, it is just throwing spears.
No, that's it. I mean, but still, there's a couple of the guys there that you can get spears on. No, is it a couple? There's only one I think you can get a spear on.
I'm not entirely sure there's any. But
there is. Rohan Warrior can have spear or throwing spears. So, but again, I'm looking at spear support if you were to use spear support. But with a horse and everything else, I think it doesn't matter. They are very much I think a smash and grab kind of company. They power in is their strength.
Yeah, so what are you gonna rate them? What would you say there? What's that? Actually, before we do that, what are their disadvantages? Do you think?
Like I said, I'm going to keep repeating myself here. So the number of horses you can get a load of extra bows for honesty shots, which are great. Throwing spears off the bat from the start.
Disadvantages.
I'm getting there.
I was like, no, these are good things. I was like, did you hear me correctly?
Oh no, I didn't. Sorry. I was literally going to get onto the disadvantages. So disadvantages of them. Don't know really. They're human. I'm looking. The thing is now, I want to do a Rohan Battle Company again to be able to see what the disadvantages are. Because being able to charge on horses, brilliant. Spears, swords, shields, lots of shields. Can you think of any disadvantages?
They've not got easy access to strength 4. I mean, that you've only got that on the Sons of Aearl. So your strength 3 is very basic. Everyone's going to be starting at fight 3, so to begin with they are fairly.
Yeah. No, you are.
I think to begin with they are very averagey.
Yeah.
Probably mildly better than average. And yeah, but they haven't got a huge amount of disadvantages. Their shooting's average. I think they're average to begin with, and I'll tell you what it is. I think that their ceiling is quite low. You're not going to.
Yeah.
You're not going to become. They start above average, and they'll progress to being a bit better than
above average.
Yeah, they're not going to. They're not going to blow people away as individuals. I think knowing how to use them well later game is going to require a more experienced player, not a beginner.
Yeah,
I reckon.
No, I think you got to know what you're doing a bit later on with them. Because add a battle company.
We haven't talked.
Go on.
Sorry, come on.
I was just going to say, added battle companies are, they gain certain strengths that like you don't get that much more in it, like, you know, so you need to box clever with them, and you know you are limited in the way that you play with them. I say yes, get the horses, but once all you're doing is charging and running around on horses, other battle companies will figure their ways around it. And again, depends on what you're playing and what the game is like, you know. So
Yeah. But yeah, if you're playing anything with light objects, you're gonna do incredibly well. So before we go on to rating, we haven't spoken hero paths. So what did you go for? So I know that Lance went on. So I think you had your leader. Geffen was Path of the Knight, if I remember rightly.
That's right. Yeah.
Lance was Path of the Warrior.
Yeah.
And then you had McGavin, who was one of your bow guys, who must have been Path of the Ranger.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
It was, and then basically because of how things went, 2 more bow people got put onto hero paths. And I didn't really vary it. Again, this is what I'm looking at. I had an adder. I basically put both of them on path for the sharpshooter, which I wouldn't do it. Which I wouldn't do again. Like, you know, I wouldn't go that way again. Like, so if I was to do this all again, I would go along, and I would have a path of the defender because shields are quite good. So starting off, I'd go path of the general, or path of the warrior for my leader. Either one of them, make him quite... Yeah, Warrior was quite good, like, you know, because, you know, what did he get up to?
I wouldn't go too far wrong with Warrior.
No, Warrior's quite good, and that was for my leader. And then I had, Path of the Knight or Path of the General is what I do. So Path of the Warrior for one of my sergeants, Path of the General or Path of the Knight for my leader again. And for my adder one, I wouldn't actually, because I used one of my guys as a bowman as a sergeant. I wouldn't. I would use one of my swordmen. I think I wouldn't use my bowman. I think I'd use one of my swordmen and put them on path of the defender. I think because just to try and bump them up a bit, like, you know, and where you get certain things like Bastion and also Tortoise Formation, you know. All friendly models with base contact are only wounded by range attacks on a natural 6. Like, that gets you across the board, you know. Silly things like that, like, you know, because there's moments there, I know, when I was getting across the board, you know, and I was losing guys from little things, like, you know. So yeah, I would definitely go both guys with throwing spears and shields. One would be my leader, one would be a sergeant, and I would go for a swordman, path of the defender, and it'll be path of the knight or general and path of the warrior. So yeah, that's what I do.
So I think for me, I'd have 2 guys with throwing spears would be my heroes, my leader and first sergeant. One I would put on path of the knight, probably my leader, because I think there's some really useful things to put on. Then probably either I'd probably go path of the duelist, I think, for the other sergeant, because I think there's some useful things in path of the duelist, particularly obviously parry. Obviously, is, you know, just one of the dirtiest rules in the entire game.
I don't like that.
Hero slayers. No, you don't like that, do you?
No.
Blade Master and, you know, fight value is, but they've also, if you do get an 11, then they have access to heroic strike. So, you know, starting at only fight 3, you know, if you come up against something fight 4, fight 5, you know, and you've got might to spend, then chuck a heroic strike in there, and you know that you're going to win on, you know, you go from losing on draws to winning on draws. Mm-hmm. And then finally, and maybe controversial, I would have a bow dude be my other sergeant, and he would be on path of the Watchman. Because I think that it would be really nice to, half of the Watchman's double 1 option is sound the alarm, which means you get to reroll 1s for priority. Now, for a cavalry army, having a better chance of winning priority. I mean, if you win priority with a cavalry army, you essentially double your attacks.
Straight up.
So having the ability to re-roll a 1. I mean, it's not going to happen all the time, but it only has to happen once or twice, and you go, yeah, that's really useful. So I've a bow dude as a sneaky. They can get heroic march as well, as well as all of the handy things that you might want. So I would use him as an objective grabber.
Yeah.
He can get himself a little dog to go along as well for free, on a free. So yeah. So I'm going to give Rohan I've said it already today, but 7.5 out of 10.
I'm sitting around 7.5, possibly an 8, mainly because I like them. So no, they are good. They're a good company. I'm happy. I think, and also one last thing I will say: my entire battle company was made out of one box of Rohan warriors. That was it. One box of Rohan warriors. Comes with the horse fighters. Comes with everything that you need in there to get them going. And yeah, it's brilliant. Yes, you had different characters. All I did was, like, the Royal Guard, I gave them a different colour shield. Like, it made them stand out. I paint their armour gold as opposed to silver. Silly little things like that. And, yeah, straight off the bat, beginner army, go for it. I fully would.
Yeah, so when I was doing the kind of cheat sheet that we use for, doing this, I was like, Rohan sound quite interesting. So, and I've got a lot of metal Rohan models that need to be stripped and painted. So I would absolutely 100% use the metal models and call them the models that they are from there. Because it's quite nice to do that, as we'll find out with the Isengard.
Yeah.
In a second when I talk about them. Okay, anything else left to say on Rohan?
No, they're all good. Just paint a couple of them ginger. Make sure they've got ginger hair.
You heard it here first for reasons which are unknown to me. Okay, which brings us on to Isengard. Oh, God.
Oh, what's that over there? Is that a golem we see?
So has broken from glass. It's the same precious. Gone are the trees and green fields. We're to destroy that precious and replace by new chains and industries. The wells of Isengard never cease. The just constantly churn out weapons and contraptions precious. In order to arm Saruman's fighting Rakai against the races of men, elves, and dwarves. Saruman regularly sends 4 companies of Orca to raid and burn precious and burn the villages of men, spreading fear and panic to increase its dominance precious. None felt this more than the land of Rohan. Just settlements and villages were burned to the ground by this bands. The Oracle who lead these war bands are vicious and bloodthirsty warriors precious. The very best of Saruman's fledgling army look to prove themselves worthy to lead the White Wizard's adventurous siege from Helm's Deep.
Wonderful. You're getting good at that.
I still don't agree, but I've started it, so this is what we're doing.
One must continue. So,
company special rule. I've not got the page in front of me, but it's man flesh, which means that the hero gets +1 to wound against models which have the man keyword. So, yeah, +1 to wound any men
Nice.
That is a really, really, really useful rule.
Well,
Steve, starting company.
2 Yokai Scouts, 2 Yokai Scouts with shields, 2 Yokai Scouts with Yokai Bow is the starting company. So it's 6 miniatures to start with.
Yes, and so for the reinforcements, your 3 points of influence to roll on the reinforcement chart. So 1 will get you nothing, 2 will get you an Uruk-hai Scout, 3 will get you a Scout with choice of war gear, 4 will get you an Uruk-hai Warrior, 5 will get you an Uruk-hai Warrior of choice of war gear, 6 puts you onto the special chart, which has 2 options on it. On a 1 to 3, you'll get a Feral Uruk-hai, and a 4 to 6, you'll get an Uruk-hai Berserker. Do you want to talk about the advancements and the unique war gear, which I don't know if you've looked at or not, but you maybe should.
I have just looked at it. So the advancements are the Yokai Scout with shield can become a Yokai Warrior with shield. I have Yokai Scout can become a Yokai Warrior with pike. And the Yokai Scout with Orc Bow can become a Yokai Warrior with crossbow. So that's that. And then the unique war gear is Yokai Grog. The hero only can get this. It's small 2. So it's 4 influence points. What's the small 2 mean?
How much space it takes up in your inventory.
Oh, okay. So a hero may elect to use the Yokai Grog at the start of any game. If they do so, remove it from the hero's model's profile. Every model within the hero's model's battle company may re-roll a single d6 when making a dual roll for the duration of the game. Every model within the hero... Oh, so every single one of them can re-roll. Oh, yeah, well, I've...
Full game.
So anyhow, I'm looking at my battle company's manager. I have 4 influence points.
Yeah.
It looks like
do
I'm just about to buy it. So that's it. Meats on the menu, boys. So one thing to make very clear and aware.
Before we move on to anything else, have you ever actually read anything about this company? Because you have 1 page. It's not like there's reams and reams to go through. There's 1 page of information about your company, and this is 1 paragraph in 1 section, which is very clear.
I'll be completely honest with you. I've read everything but that bit on the page.
That's probably not important. Ignore it.
I literally meh, Wargear, meh, it'll be alright. It's like, so I literally, yeah. I mean, I've literally only managed to get You Shall Taste Manflesh to company hero upgrade. That went in the last battle. I also got a couple of the scouts and the warriors have gone up to... just a couple of the scouts have become warriors in the last battle. I've not been doing too well with these guys. I got them because I chose... Well, we'll get into it, I think. But yeah, I chose them for the fight for... from the start, because I thought, all right, they've got a good, that's got a bit of a good, some bones to it. So, but that is not something to rest on, as I have found out.
Yeah. So let's talk about the stat lines before we talk about everything else. So Uruk-hai Scouts have armor and a sword.
Mm-hmm.
They have war gear options of an Uruk-hai bow and shield. Stat line is movement 6, fight 4 as standard with 4+ for shooting, strength 4, defense 4, 1 attack, 1 wound, courage 3. So anything that's got fight 4, strength 4 as standard is, that's, you haven't got. I mean, that's better than a Rohan warrior.
Yeah. So no, they are just stronger individuals from the start, and also bear in mind you have 2 of them with shield, and I put one of my guys on Path of the Defender, so 3 of them started with shields, so they were defense 5, strength 4, fight 4. So again off the bat, they're quite strong individuals to go into to start with, and I thought that would have been enough. But it isn't. Anyhow, so
yeah. Anyway, carry on. We'll get into stuff in a second. But...
So the next one is so the Uruk-hai warrior is they have heavy armor and a sword. Their war gear options are crossbow, shield, and pike. Movement 6, fight 4, 4+, strength 4, defense 5, attacks 1, wounds 1, and courage 3. So their defense goes up by 1. Is the Uruk-hai warrior. They're not starting ones. These are These are reinforcements or the advancements. I have failed miserably. I now have 13 warriors, and I only just got warriors. I've got 3 warriors now in the last game. So, we've been playing quite a bit. My reinforcement rolls have not gone the right way, but now I've got them, and so there's a few of them there. I've got 1, 2, 3. Yeah, three characters with defense 6, which is nice. Like, defense 6, fight 4s. So, because they got the shields as well. So, then next up.
Nice. So, are you going to be buying them some crossbows, or should we talk about that in a minute?
We'll talk about that. Yeah, talk in a second.
Okay, so they've got Uruk-hai berserkers, which are really fun. So the only thing they have in their war gear, they don't have any armor, they don't have any swords, they don't have a dagger or a bow. They just have the berserker blade, which is a hand and a half sword, so it can be used as a single-handed weapon, or it can be used double-handed. They have got 3 special rules. So first off, they've got oblivious to pain, which means that if they are wounded, you roll a dice. If you roll a 6, that wound is ignored, and you can keep ignoring wounds and keep ignoring wounds and keep ignoring wounds. If you keep getting a 6, you can keep ignoring wounds. They are impervious to bowfire, which means that normally they are defense 5, as we'll see in the stat line in a minute. For shooting attacks, they are defense 6, and I think this is to mirror the scene in the 2 towers where the berserker is carrying the torch to blow up the thing which destroys the section of the deepening wall there. So I think that's why they've kind of included that rule. And then you've got the Berserker Blade rule, which is an interesting one. So if you use the Berserker Blade as a 2-handed weapon, obviously you got a -1 on the dual roll if you do that. So if you do that, you can assign strikes as you normally would, or you can have a strength 4 with +1 to wound on every model that is in base contact with the Berserker friend or foe. So if you're surrounded, if you've got 4 or 5, or I don't know how many models you could get in, if you've got 4 or 5 models around you, and you use the Berserker Blade, you could be doing strength 4 with +1 to wound on every single model. So more than the 2 attacks you'd have a standard. Stat line is movement 6, fight 4, 4+, strength 4, defense 5, 2 attacks are standard, 1 wound, and a frankly ridiculous courage of 7.
Yeah, beautiful. It's beautiful, that is.
And not running away anytime soon.
No.
But yeah. Then onto the Feral Uruk is the last one.
So yeah, they have 2 swords. They're oblivious to pain, so ignore wounds on a 6, and that's what they've got. Movement 6, fight 4, 4+, strength 4, defense 4, 2 attacks, 1 wound, and 5 courage. So they're a bit like the Uruk-hai. They're less than the Uruk-hai warrior. They're like the Uruk-hai scout, but with an extra attack and oblivious to pain. Is basically what they are. So
they're basically a slightly weakened version of a berserker.
Yeah. So yeah, but yeah,
not by much.
So I mean, I chose this battle company as our latest one because I liked the starting stats for them. The fight 4, 4+, and 4/4s. Defense goes up to defense. It goes from defense 4 to defense 5 with a shield. So yeah, so as a starting company, I thought they would be quite strong. Fiefdoms have turned out to be quite tasty as well, so they are definitely a challenge to fight against. But yeah, no, again, it's it's an interesting company, quite thematic as well. I've got 3 berserkers. I've used Berserker Blade. I've done damage with the Berserker Blade. The Berserkers are quite nice. They're a nice juicy upgrade to have. The only thing I failed or would have liked to have worked more in my favour is my upgrade rolls to be able to get more warriors, to get away from the scouts and get up to the warriors. Just having that extra defence, that defence 5 making it defence 6, just makes them a bit more, bit more stronger in the combat, and also be able to get some pikes, and doing spear support, doing all of that with that. As pike and spear, pike can go over 2, can't it?
Yeah, so you could do what my fiefdoms do.
Yeah. Which hurts a lot, where you literally line 3 of them up, and there's 3 attacks on 1. So, and it's like that. It's like I could put a berserker up front, put a pike behind him, that's suddenly 3 attacks, or like having 2 pikes. I could pike and then pike again behind. That's right, yeah. So so it's a berserker and 2 pikes behind. So I've got my first pike coming now. So hopefully I will gain some benefits of that. Especially against your cavalry, because you got 2 I can't get horses, and you got horses there. So it's I think my reinforcement rolls have failed me at the start. But I now have some warriors, so I'm looking forward to see how they pan out. And then you said crossbow. I've never used a crossbow, so tell me about a crossbow.
So crossbows are nasty. So I am just going to double check, because I do not want to misspeak. But whilst I'm going to search for something whilst I'm doing this, and tell you about my own Isengard campaign, because I'm doing another campaign. I'm cheating on Stephen. So I'm doing I know. Sorry, you had to find out this way. I've got an Isengard company which I'm doing against Dave, our friend who's doing Defenders of Helm's Deep. And what I really, really love about them is that I've had a whole bunch of old metal models, and my starting company. So I had Ugluk being my leader. I've got Lurtz as a sergeant. I've got a Shagrat model as the other sergeant, and I've got a Grishnak one. I mean, I know he's not an Uruk, but the Uruks and Mordor Orcs kind of joined together. So I mean, he's not. I haven't put him in yet for that reason, but yeah. And I think there's some nice. I've got some other nice. I've got an Urukai captain model which I'm going to be putting in at some point. So yeah, just having that really kind of themey actual group that like you see in the films, like running around and stuff, and it being against a very themey Defenders of Helm's Deep company that Dave's running with. Various different Rohan warriors, with an Aragorn model in there, with a Theoden model in there, with Eowyn and Haldir. It's been a really kind of nice themey way to play. But you asked about crossbows. I wanted to double check the range, and the range is 24 inches, so just the same as a bow, but strength 4.
Ooh.
But
is it turn to reload, is it?
No, move or shoot.
It's one or the other. I know that was something there, so I've got.
So if you move at all, you cannot shoot. So it's the sort of thing where if you can position someone to shoot down like an alleyway that people are going to have to charge up, you sit yourself at the end of it, get yourself behind some cover, and take your strength 4 shots. And if you're Uruks are 4+, so it's 50-50. So I've got one guy who. Let me check my company before I misspeak. Not that anyone's going to check. But I didn't. Has he upgraded? No, they're still on 4+. So, but you don't necessarily have to buy a crossbow for them, because the Uruk. Actually, to be honest, I did that on purpose. I remember now. You start with 2 guys with Urukai bows. Their advancement is to become to get a crossbow.
Yes.
So rather than having to buy that, you can just wait for them to naturally upgrade, which will happen eventually. So it's funny when they were upgrading, I was actually hoping that they didn't become a hero in the making because I wanted them to get a free crossbow.
Yeah.
But yeah, having a strength 4 shooting. I mean, Urukai bows, we should mention, a strength 3 shooting. They're only 18-inch range, so that's the kind of slight downside. But 18-inch range is half decent, and it being strength 3 on 4+ shooting is nasty.
No, it's
served me well in a few of the games that me and Dave have had. But yeah, I mean, the one thing that surprises me about how you set up your company, because to be clear, when we do our campaigns, to make it kind of interesting and to make the leaders and sergeants stick out a bit more than just the regular basic people, is we give the leader 2 upgrades for free and the sergeants 1 upgrade. I was astounded that you didn't just go, I'm playing fiefdoms, they're all men, I'm going to give every single my leader and 2 sergeants the man flesh rule as one of the upgrades. Because if you're coming into that strength 4 + 1 to wound, everyone. It's not like if you're going up against a variety of things across a multi faction campaign, it'd be a bit different. But to just ignore the chance to be +1 to wound everyone off the bat, I was just like, really?
I can't remember what I did. I just went for. I think
you just rolled.
Yeah, I just rolled straight on it. Yeah, it's whoopsie. But I mean, again,
Yeah.
So I mean, for this, for me, I'm very much the way I play and the way I've always played. Anything is I get stuck in and I learn by playing. So again, I think was 7 or 8 games in now we are, and it's I have taken a pounding. Recently in recent games, I have taken a pounding. It was quite balanced to start with at the start, and then it's starting to tip very much into fiefdom's direction. But with the warriors now, I now have man flesh in there. I've literally just as we've been speaking, upgraded with a Urukai grog. I just sorted those things out,
Oh, is that what you're doing next game?
Oh yeah, 100%, mate.
You single use for now, so it's 4 influence is going to be gone.
Yeah. Oh no, it's gone. It's already done. I've already done it. I've literally. I know. To be fair, for those rerolls, there has been times when those rerolls would help, because every character, every model within the Heroes Models Battle Company may reroll a single d6. There's been those times when I've lost by 1, so it's that's it, and especially with Fight 4 when I could have even I've been silly rolls. I've lost. You've rolled a 2 and I've rolled a 1. If I can re-roll, by chance alone, I'm going to win that duel. So. But again, it's getting in and playing them. I was falling out of love with these guys because I wasn't getting the warriors. And the warriors, their war gears, being the crossbows and the pikes, I think are going to make a difference. So, yeah. At the present moment, I'm mixed with them, but yeah, it's I will see how this goes.
I'll be honest with you. I think that fiefdoms are one of the. I think fiefdoms and then the upgrades I've had, and maybe the way I played them. I don't want to,
No, you have.
pick myself up too much. It. You've not had the advantages that you might have had. So the only models that aren't, I think after my upgrades of my starting company, I only had 1 model that was Fight 3. Everyone else was Fight 4 or above.
Yeah.
And then I've got fight value upgrades, and then I've taken the +1 to fight value if I charge. So, my Sergeant Fall on the Fat, he's fight 6 on the charge.
Yeah, he's
which is just, it's just nasty as anything. So I think if you were playing against a Rohan company, for example, you would be. I've played against Isengard and Isengard scouts plenty, and being fight 4 from the off against fight 3 is not fun. I mean, I think that you've come up against probably one of the gnarliest companies I've used, I think.
Yeah, I do, but again, trial by fire, like getting in there, I do enjoy it. Like things that have worked really well, I've enjoyed. Like the Berserkers, I went a 1 for 3 toe to toe, and I took out 2 of your guys in that combat, didn't I? Like
Yeah, it's like turn 1, was it?
Yeah, turn 1. It was what was that mission? We had to
rescue.
Yeah, rescue. I had a guy in the middle, and I had 2 Berserkers and a hero in the middle, and both Berserkers went toe to toe, 3 against 1, 3 against 1. One of them died, and the other one took 2 of your guys down straight away, which put me at an advantage. How did I lose that game? What did I lose on that? I
think I took a couple of guys out from shooting, and I also called a really smart heroic march.
That was it. That was what,
because you thought you were going to just be able to just do a foot race where you kept running away.
Yeah.
I called a heroic march, and the other thing, and this I'll admit that this was a little bit lucky, but also a little bit of well played me, was that my archers were on the wrong side of a barrier.
Yeah.
And a barrier that would need a climb test in order to kind of get over it.
Yeah.
So there was 3 of them there, and I needed to tie up one person on the other side of that barrier, in order to have the numbers advantage in the fight again, because I had to just kill your leader.
Yeah.
And the Blackroot Vale Archers have got the Mountain Dweller special rule, which means that they can re-roll climb tests and leap tests and something else. And I think they all got across, but 2 of them got across with a 6.
That's it.
One that was natural and one that had to be re-rolled, but that meant that they could then charge.
No,
I think you were.
But that was a close.
Maybe slightly unlucky, but I think sometimes, I mean, obviously you are learning them, but sometimes I just think that situations when we played Baggage Train. The fact that it was just like, I'm going to charge this Berserker. I think you got excited about the fact you had a Berserker, then you were thinking he was just going to be all that.
Yeah.
So like, I'm going to do this. Okay, if you do that, I can put 6 people around you. Are you sure? Yep, absolutely. I was like, are you sure you're sure? Yes. I was like, okay, you're a grown man. You can make your own decisions.
Yeah.
I'll let you.
It was a trial by fire. 6 was too many. 3 was enough. So I know half of that was okay. I learned in it was was it next game? Or was the
it was the following game. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, okay, we'll go against 3. And you said the same. Do you want to do that? I was like, yeah, I do want to do it, and it worked.
I mean, it did work, but if I remember rightly, that combat that we had where it was 3-on-1, I rolled 2 1s and a 2. I mean, that's relatively unlikely. So
the thematic god was looking down on me, going, "You know what, Steve? You need this. You can have this.
You did that right.
Go with Berserker Chad and go with Berserker Dave, because that's their names." And we just went, and Berserker Barry. That's what my Berserkers are called. And yeah, we're going for it, But again, then the last game that we had, and I should have ran the opposite way with the Berserkers, but I had 4. I had 3 Berserkers and a Warrior against 5 of your guys. I thought, you know what? Numbers are stacked the right way. And you killed all of them. It was brutal. But yeah, so getting back to it, Yokai as a battle company, I think, I was a bit, I'd be a bit 50-50 in the last couple of games that we've had, how I feel about them. I've gained some warriors. I've got a pike. I've got that option now as we play a couple more games to get crossbows, pikes, and to change up the fighting style, because especially now as I'm coming up against cavalry with the fiefdoms, I need something else. I need to change up my tactic. The guys don't have, again, it might just be against the fiefdoms. They haven't done so well in the toe-to-toe, but I think we'll see what comes. We'll see what comes with them being warriors, and we'll see what comes with having some pikes and crossbows in there. So on a whole, hero paths. So my guys, the choices I've chosen for them is I've gone for Path of the General for my leader. And then I've gone for Path of the Defender and Path of the Skirmisher. But again, this is where the roles haven't been massively in my favour, because all I've gained is... So Path of the Skirmisher, I've just gained throwing mastery, so throwing knives, Path of the Defender, I start him as Path of the Defender so I could get the extra shield at the start of it. But again, he's not gained much. He's gained 2 attacks. All of his improvements have been stat, might, and fate. He's gained those, which have proved useful, but there's nothing that makes him stand out as a defender. I would still choose the same, and then Path of the General continuing on, he's doing fine. Lead by example, and now he has his Yokai Grog. So, I think... would I change?
Yeah, I mean, those. I don't think those are bad. Are bad things at all. I think they're solid choices.
Yeah.
So the way I've got mine set up is I've got Ugluk as my leader on Path of the Duelist. I mean, he's just nasty. I mean, fight 5, strength 5, defense 5, 3 attacks, 2 might, and man flesh. So. He's strength 5 with +1 to wound against humans. So
yeah,
that's just horrible to come up against. And when he gets parry and blade master, he's going to be borderline unstoppable. And then Lurtz, I thought it was very thematic to have him as a Path of the Skirmisher. He's not much worse than none of these skirmishy special rules. I also wanted him to have the throwing things because of the scene at the end of Fellowship of the Ring. So him having the throwing daggers would be cool. Hasn't got them yet though. But fight 5, strength 5, defense 6, 2 attacks, nasty. And then Shagrat was my other sergeant, and Shagrat is the captain of Kirith Ungol. So I thought his themey thing should be Path of the Watchman, which made sense. And where Isengard haven't got cavalry, again having the ability to potentially re-roll ones for priority is going to be pretty useful. And he's got stat-wise, he hasn't really got anywhere. He's got Heroic Resolve and Heroic March, but he has got Patrol, which means he can call a free heroic move every single turn. So, not with me, but he can move before anyone, no matter what, unless they want to come up against it. So, yeah, that's what I've gone for. I've gone for Duelist, Skirmisher, and Watchman. I mean, there's always going to be a good shout for a general, but and a warrior maybe.
Yeah, I think it's. They're the paths. I've yet to gain the special rules in them. A lot of it's been stat improvements. But yeah, I think we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Let's see what the next few weeks bring. So, but yeah, we're also. The companies are getting up in strength. About my rating's 268 now. So it's a decent sized company. So yeah, let's see what comes.
So what do you think the obvious disadvantages are?
No cavalry. is the start. Not having cavalry is a huge disadvantage. I am feeling that now fighting against someone with cavalry. I think that's the main disadvantage with these guys. You know, their stats to start is a good strong start in stats. Like, you know, fight 4, strength 4, defense 4, all 5 with guys with the shields. Like, you know, so off the bat against most humans, they're pretty strong. Their bows are better. You know, the strength it's a strength 3 bow. You know, which is good. You know, I like those. And they have, the only other thing is they have limited advancements. They do not as many as the Rohan per se. York scouts become warriors. Scouts become warriors. Scouts become warriors. That everything is just a warrior with a pike, a warrior with a crossbow, or warrior with shield. So that's that. And then the other ones are feral Urukai, which I don't think are they're just a weaker berserker. But the berserkers are strong. I do like the berserkers, and I've got a couple of plans up my sleeve how I'm going to play them with my warriors. So I've now, you know, okay. I'm going to see how that goes.
Always got a plan.
I always have a plan. You have to have a plan to fail. But yeah, I think at the present moment, you know, the dice rolls have now only fallen in my favour. I'm going to actually get to really explore this company. You know, if I was, you know, I still am interested. I still think they're going to do pretty well. But yeah, if they've got no cavalry, which I felt the pain on. But yeah, apart from that, I think they're okay. Again, another decent starting kind of company, I'd say, like, you know, to get into it.
I mean, I think that the lack of cavalry is difficult. So there's certain, you know, coming up against cavalry companies is always going to be not ideal. But you know, early game it's not going to be so much of a problem, but later game, you know, come up against cavalry is going to be horrible. It's good. I mean, the fact that they've got the Urukai bows, which are strength 3, and then the crossbows, which are strength 4, and they hit on 4+ is decent. In terms of their handheld weapons, there isn't any real options for special strikes.
No.
So I mean, we're not people who have typically used special strikes that much in our gameplay, or them beginning to do it more and more. But so there's no axes for piercing strikes. There's no clubs for bashing or anything like that. It's just literally, here's a sword. So they're kind of, you know, which is fine, and it's nice and simple to play, and not have to do anything complicated in terms of setup. But yeah, that is a slight downside. But then, I mean, I think if you know you're coming up against human companies, then having the man flesh thing is just going to be fantastic.
Yeah. Yes.
so yeah. Maybe should have done that, but yeah. I mean, I don't know if this company is better or worse than Rohan.
I'm yet to see. I enjoyed more with Rohan towards the back end of the game, back end of our campaign. Isengard look to be going that way as well. I think they are companies to learn. I think all the companies, you have to learn them. Like, you know, you have to figure them out, or you probably shouldn't learn them by playing them like I do, and probably actually read the actual what they've got. Like, you know, but no, I don't think, you know, they've got different strengths. You know, good fight values. But yeah,
I think that they are better than Rohan early game and worse late game.
Yeah, I think definitely late game, because I mean, apart from getting a load of berserkers, there's not much else that you've got going for you.
So, I mean, I think you're slightly overestimating how good berserkers are. Berserkers are fine, but it's just like an extra attack. That doesn't mean that they can all of a sudden take on 17 guys. You know, it's it's an extra attack.
But I mean, to be fair, it's one of those ones where you do get that extra attack at the start. And no, it's a blade. I like the blade. I love the berserker blade. You know, it's that. I do enjoy that berserker blade. Yes, it is a -1 because it's two-handed, but when you do the damage, you do the damage. Like, you know, it's one of those ones, like, you know, and especially now being able to re-roll.
Who's looking forward to Steve informing everyone how he's got on with his 3 berserkers and their berserker blades after this week's games?
I've got a good feeling about him. But yeah, I think
We're playing.
Rating them at the present moment, they're sitting at a 7 for me.
Yeah, so I gave Rohan a 7.5. I think that this Isengard company are a smidge below, so I'm going to say 7.
Yeah,
and they're definitely not terrible. Easy company to play with, nothing complicated going on, and I think if you can get going with them, then you can really get going with them. So, yeah, I think if you can try and use the might that your heroes have to call heroic combats, and you know, swing into fights which you've got a good chance of winning, that strength 4 can hopefully get you more kills and you can get your advancements up quicker. Whereas, you know, a standard warrior of Rohan isn't going to be able to hit as hard as that.
Yeah.
So, you know, but yeah, no cav, limited special strikes, good shooting, great company hero upgrade. So 7.
Yeah, 7. I agree with you, 7 on that. So yeah, there we go.
Nice. So I haven't actually looked at this yet, but yeah. So next up, we've got Scouts of Isengard as our evil company.
Yeah.
Which I have played against but not with. Interesting company. And the good company, and let's scroll up because they're just doing it week on week, is Defenders of Helm's Deep, which is what I'm playing against at the moment with my Isengard. So yeah.
And how's that going?
I've kind of been ripping through them a little bit, but then I got. Well, it wasn't a great scenario that I had to play in the last game, and I did lose that one. But yeah, we're doing a very themey thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Anyway, we'll call it there.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, everyone, for listening to the Good Enough Battle Companies podcast. If you've got any questions about battle companies in general, or you know, Middle-earth strategy battle game, then you can get in touch. You can drop me an email, chris@goodenoughscenery.com. Same if you want to buy any scenery on a lovely modular board. Get in there, get in contact. But yeah, you can follow me at Good Enough Scenery on YouTube and on TikTok. Where can people find you, Steve?
So at the present moment, I've gone back just to TikTok because we're working on something big with Jedi Archives in Dorchester. So the YouTube channel's on pause at the present moment. So I'm on TikTok at When I Can Hobby, all with full stops in between it. And yeah, we got some big stuff. We're starting a new hobby club in the flesh down at Dorchester, and there's lots of things coming with it. So we're working on that. So I'm not massively active on the socials at the moment because we're working on that, but hopefully back into it again. So